Hello everyone, welcome back once again to my channel Built on Prompts, and today in this video we are going to see about Model Context Protocol. For that, let's try to understand the basic architecture of Model Context Protocol. Model Context Protocol is built on top of client-server architecture. Let's try to understand the traditional client-server architecture. Normally in client-server architecture, we have a client on one side and then a server on the other side. The client generally sends out a request in the format of JSON or XML, and server pulls the data from the database and formulates the response again in JSON or XML, which is the most used format in client-server architecture. The entire client and server speaks with each other through this protocol called HTTP or HTTPS, Hypertext Transfer Protocol or Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. Now, if you take the MCP architecture, it also has its own client and server, also called as MCP client and MCP server. But here the client sends out the request to the server not in any specific format, but as a natural language like this. Hey, how are you? The server, which is a wrapper on top of certain tools, interacts with the tool, gets the data from the tool, and then sends out the response to the client also in natural language, which is fine. Thanks for asking. And the entire interaction between the client and server happens through a certain protocol, probably you would have guessed already, called Model Context Protocol. And today in this example, we will see how an MCP client Claude is interacting with MCP server that is built on top of the tools such as Wikipedia and GitHub, and how you can send questions in natural language and the MCP server decodes these questions and provides the answers also in natural language. For that we need the client and the server, and let's see in the demo how both are set up and how they are connected to each other. Here I have my cloud desktop which I will be using as my MCP client, and then I also have my Docker desktop which I'll be using as MCP server. If you don't know how Docker desktop work, Docker provides an abstraction and help run these applications as containers so that you don't have to have a lot of installation done on your local system. I'll be using Docker to run my MCP servers. As you can see, my MCP toolkit is here and there are already 138 standard MCP servers available which you can directly plug with your MCP client and start using. If you are new to Docker, I'll provide one more link also in the description and also somewhere in the video which you can use to install Docker locally in your laptop or desktop. For this particular video, I am going to use first Wikipedia. I will search for Wikipedia and then add it to my servers. Wikipedia is basically added and this server is started. If I open my Wikipedia, in the tool section here, you can see the list of possible interactions that we can do with Wikipedia. More or less, it covers top to bottom everything. And let's see that in an example how we can interact to get some data from Wikipedia and summarize those information. The second part, what I have to do is come back to my MCP toolkit and also connect my server to my client. Cloud desktop is already available and is also visible. I have to just click on connect, and now the cloud desktop is already connected. I go back to my cloud desktop and see file settings, and if I go to developer, I see my Docker desktop already running. If you don't see it, normally you can also go to your developer settings and reload MCP configuration, and it will start initializing and again it will restart the server. Now my Docker server is already running. I can go back to my chats. It is already establishing the connection to our MCP server. I will allow. If you don't want to click allow every single time, you can always say allow always. Now, as you can see, it is interacting with Wikipedia, getting the information, summarizing it in the format that is easy for us to consume. And I feel really comfortable asking questions through the client. Let's go into the second part. One thing to note here is every single time you have to provide MCP server. If you don't provide, it might directly try to scrape the data and provide you with the information. And if you don't like to provide every single time MCP server, basically you can create a project, provide MCP Wikipedia, and then create project. Once a project is created, you can set up project instructions. And with this, you can directly type any question. It will always use the MCP connection to request the data from Wikipedia and take it back. Now let's go into the next part of our video, which is indexing a GitHub repository and start asking questions on top of this repository. For this, again, I go into my Docker and search for Git. And so there is GitHub official, which you can use to push and pull your developments. But right now what we are going to use is GitHub chat. And then I add it to my server. And if I see the list of tools that is available, the first thing is I have to index my repository. I provide my repository so that the Claude client can access the details and index it in the format. Next time when you ask query, it can read through the index and provide us with the information. Second is query repository, where you ask the set of questions you wanted to ask to the repository in a natural conversational way, and you get the response out of the repository. Questions like what kind of framework the particular repository or particular project is using, what are the toolkits that are used in this project, what are the libraries used, and so on. For this particular example, I'll be using this particular repository called Cap Bookshop WDI 5, which is an SAP framework built on top of a cloud application programming model and Fury based application. You can choose any repository as you like. I copy now the link and go back to my cloud client, where I can say, now it is saying it doesn't have the capability to index a repository. As I can see, the connection to the Git repository is not yet available. What I will do is you can go back here and go to developer section and reload MCP configuration so it refreshes the connection, and wait for some minutes. And now I can see the index and query. Again, I go edit and rerun this. Now it is able to index the repository. The repository has been successfully indexed. Now we can start asking questions. And I press enter. I'm asking about the project structure, purpose of the project, and the framework used. A spelling mistake. So even if I have spelling mistakes, it tries to reformat and adjust it so that you get the best output answers. Now I'm getting my response back. I get my project overview. It explains the core purposes, technology stack. It uses Cloud Application Programming Framework, Node.js, Express, SQLite, and XSUAA. What are the front-end technologies? And also it provides the dictionary structure. So if you have further questions, basically you can directly ask it, interact with the repository in natural language, and get the answers back. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel, and I will see you all in the next video.